Here in the office of Superintendent Wyeth Jessee for the end of the year wrap up. We've had already the choice graduation, and Cedar is going to be tonight as we're filming this. Shelton High School on the way too. Big year for the school. I saw at least for Shelton High School, good morning to you, by the way.
Good morning, Jeff.
The seniors, raised isn't the right term, but the seniors earned almost $500,000 in scholarships for their continued education. That's pretty impressive, it seems like. That's a big number.
Yeah, that's been here for a long time. It's sense of a lot of people in the community really support high school graduation and kids moving on, and scholarships have always been there. It's talked about year round. It's ongoing, and then a lot of legacy stuff too. There's a lot of things where, even last night there was a scholarship that was awarded from a previous staff member who had passed away just a little over 10 years ago, and she left a scholarship, and we still have the Drake scholarship that's been around now for, and my math here, like 40 years,
Uh-huh.
like 40 plus years. So it's been a long time, like some things have just been here for a long time, and that's just keeps building on itself, and the kids get a scholarship and they get a leg up. It's not cheap.
Right. No.
And we just have, over the last, since I've been here, it's the number of kids going on to four-year schools is just increasing. So kids are going on to college. They're elected to do that. We also have kids obviously going to the trades. Those are not cheap as well. So kids can earn scholarships for those experiences, and they do. And so no matter what you're doing, there's something here for you.
How does that help a family talk to their student about life after high school when maybe the guardians are sitting around at the breakfast table and they're penciling out their budgets and they're like, man, I don't know what we're going to be able to do, how we're going to be able to support our students, and then how are we going to be able to have that conversation with them when they start talking about wanting to further their education after high school, knowing that there is a lot of help out there if you know where to look. And I know the counselors do a lot of that too.
Yeah, I think this is one of those. There's two sides to this conversation, and I think that's fair. Two things can be true, even though they might seem a little counter to one another. One, college or the trades are really important. They give you a leg up. They're just statistically, the probability of you making a lot more money over the course of your lifetime, and I'm not talking about $10,000, I'm talking about hundreds, if not millions more.
Sure.
The difference between, landing a job in, the service industry, working, in some kind of retail, or getting a job that's a career, and all the things that come with it, including benefits, especially this day. I mean,
Yeah.
like, even our benefits aren't that good, Jeff. Like, they just keep getting cut. And so I couldn't imagine, what it was like if you're only just hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
So healthcare is not getting cheaper, those things. That's why I say, get those jobs. It's access and opportunity. So that's why going out there, going to get further education, getting those skills, no matter what, wherever that is really important so that you can be competitive out there in this job environment, that you have something unique that you're offering your employer, all the skills that come with it. So, as you're sitting around the table, that is a conversation to have. That's sometimes hard to have, which on the other side is, how can we afford it? I think that's what you're
Yeah.
really alluding to. And for a number of people, that is a real conversation. I have all the empathy, like, I don't know about you. I had to take student loans. Things were different, but school is a little bit different in cost than it is today. But I will add, I'm not trying to plug a whole bunch of schools, but, community college is still pretty
Sure.
affordable.
Yeah.
It's a good option for a number of people, especially for the first 2 years. But then we have the Shelton Promise, Evergreen State. Evergreen State's still pretty affordable. I mean, like by national standards, even by a public education, Washington State, Wazoo, Western, whatever, Central, Eastern, UW, those schools are still relatively inexpensive compared to other public schools in other states. So I get it. I'm not I'm not here to take a thing and go, can't believe Superintendent Jessee just said it was like affordable. I get it, coming from a single family household. My mom was the office manager for the fire department. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it wasn't a lot of it wasn't a lot of money. I had to work, you know, like those are the things that you should discuss, but it does give you again, access and opportunity to a life where people just have more choice and you can go back and support your family. I tell families all the time, you're investing in an asset in some ways. Your love, the love, your number one asset, usually your kid, right?
Yeah.
Invest in it. Let them go on, have access and opportunity, and they can also help pull up the family too, right? That even if things didn't go your way, you're investing in the next generation. That's what we're trying to do here as a district. And so whatever we can do, if they have questions, Jeff, they should talk to their school administrator, counselor. I know a number of our staff at one of our 3 high schools would be happy to talk about what those options look like with them. So we're here to help.
We are moving into summer and new programs are rolling out. I was in a webinar this week about a new program for the high school, the School Links program, which is kind of a high school and beyond thing that I don't ever believe it was part of when I was in school, something we worked on. Maybe it was, and I never did it, and that's why I'm where I'm at today. But regardless, it seemed like it was a really cool resource, and it talked a lot about after high school education and what you're doing there. And this is something that it really seems like is a statewide investment on helping the kids find the pathways that they are interested most in. And it starts really in 7th grade, it seemed like, where you can start taking these assessments and kind of getting an idea. And one of the things I saw that was interesting was how 7th and 8th graders might answer these questions that they want to be actor or a YouTuber or an athlete. And then as the grades go down or grades go up more towards senior, those have kind of gone away and it's more of a, I don't want to say real career, but I will say that like a nurse or
practical.
More practical. That's probably the more.
Yeah, more jobs in those other fields, right?
Yeah. And so I just thought it was a kind of a cool way for these kids to understand what they should be focusing on and the classes, and that there are educational opportunities all the way through high school with this thing. It's kind of a cool deal.
Oh, it's really cool. And yeah, and those are I was talking to Ty Ramos. He's, Ty, and he works within our career and technical ed, program. He's, work experiences out there in the field, shadowing. You know that very well as working alongside him. We were talking about that, and I was like, there's just some things here that we just have to do differently. It's not just unique to Shelton, so this are not one of those Shelton specific things, but this is the Shelton School District, and the things that first and foremost I have to remind people: if kids don't have the foundational core content areas, doesn't matter which field you're going into, you're going to be stuck if you can't read and do math at grade level. Those are just foundational things. We don't make light of them. That's why we are been focused on that. We have obviously our ELA scores. I think we're going to be close to approaching almost 50%. Half of our kids in 3rd grade being started. Jeff, that's double when it was just simply 4 years ago.
Yeah.
No district does that. And so we're going to turn our attention, not fully, keep going with ELA, but to doing math, right? And so that's another, that's going to be another 5-year investment to ramp that up and do all that work, and especially in these very tight budget times, right? Because any kind of curricular approach that you're adding new material, this is going to be expensive because it comes with training as well. So it's worthy, it's good. And then this other side is like, unfortunately, we still have a lot of kids when they graduate, and you know this, Jeff, you've talked a lot with these high school kids. They get to this time, even this time, their senior year, and you ask them, hey, what's your plan? Too many kids still are left saying, like a shrug, or a friend will answer for them.
Right.
It's usually like, he doesn't have, or she doesn't have a plan. I've been trying to work with them, it's, and you're like, like a little bit of a deep breath, and you're like, okay, so what have you been thinking about? What have you done up to this time? And we get celebrating about the kids of the scholarships, all this, but too many kids, not just here in Shelton, again,
Right.
face this in other districts I've worked in, where staff work really hard in trying to get these skills and get them to graduate, right? Like the scramble is on. Staff are tirelessly in there. What do you need? What do they got to do? You know, and then it's like you push them up and you get them over on the other side. Unfortunately, on the other side is a couch.
Right.
For too many of them. That's their plan, and so we need to do a better job. I was talking with Gretchen, who's over career and college readiness, is about how can we even get more up on this to really figure out what does industry need, colleges, what's our percentages, what's the skill set, so that we can, to your point, go all the way down, definitely into the junior high level, is how do we start building up those skills more so, and so that we are making those connections, as I like to hand the baton, because that way when the kids get to usually their sophomore year or junior year, we've already allowed them, and Ty was really good. He's like, I just wanted to just get 20 hours just seeing this. Doesn't mean you have to go into it, but what's one or two takeaways of things you don't like and things you do like, right? Like we all have things in our jobs that we like and don't like.
Yeah.
And so you're just trying to suss that out, plus do your coursework, try new experiences, do your own research, us help you out, so that when they go along, we can do a better job of helping them navigate and land somewhere earlier than it is later. I mean, how many people go on to go doing things? This is why I think a lot of people are hesitant about college. Like, I don't know what I want to do. And that's a lot of money to invest in something I don't even know what the outcome's going to be. Well, I'm like, again, if you have good critical thinking skills and you pick up your knowledge and know how to relate to other people, which is some of the things that you learn in college or trades or in a job, that is going to give you that much more opportunity later on. Let's help you navigate that earlier so that you can go in with more confidence and knowing what a general sense of better of what you're looking to do. That'll help us so that instead of too many kids that we're just trying to push over and unfortunately don't land in something that I think they're seeking, right?
Yeah.
Jeff?
And I think too, if they're able to take these assessments, and everybody knows their ENTP or INJS, all those that type of a test. But if it's even more detailed, where it talks about your core values and how you communicate with people, if I didn't have those opportunities to take those types of assessments in college or in high school, and somebody says, well, what are you going to do? Like, I don't know. You just go to college and you start taking geology 101 and moving your way up. And eventually you'll have enough credits to get a major, and that's what you're going to end up doing until you realize this isn't
for me
what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I spent the last 4 years learning about rocks, and I don't care. I want to do something in the space industry or something.
Jeff, taxpayers are paying $200,000 plus per kid to go through public education, right?
Yeah,
I think it's closer to 250, $250,000. Right? I'm a superintendent. I love public education, but if we're investing this kind of money, we continually have to do better.
Yeah,
we're doing good. There's great things going on here in this district, more than ever. Are coming with access and opportunity. I think now we're into the low 50s for kids passing ELA, even in high school. We have more work to do, more rigorous coursework, because at the end of the day, it's a competitive world out there. Shelton's not in its own. It's not its own bubble. You're competing against people all the way across the United States and overseas for jobs, industries, doing things like that. We got to do continuously, I think, a better job along the way, along the journey. We're trying to do that with the foundational skills and these opportunities, which are turning out. We had 100 placements this last year. I mean, 100, that's a lot. I forget the total number of hours, but it's a lot, like tens of thousands of hours that kids have spent getting those experiences, figuring out what they like or don't like. The thing we're missing is really trying to align better, especially with our partnerships with industry, trades, and colleges, so that when we are navigating and we're going back and forth in a reciprocal relationship, I can figure out earlier, okay, this is what's coming up for the skills that you're really looking for. Here's what kids right now look like they have and they're missing. We need to be more responsive and driving it on the kids. A lot of people look at the kids. This is my last part around this. Just I can't, especially that conversation you're talking about around the table. Kids need more. We have to have tougher conversations, more love, like I call it the warm demander. You got to keep guiding your kid all the way. You can't just because they get to high school. A lot of parents do this. This is not, again, a new thing. This is 25 years of watching this.
Right.
Kids kind of getting them, even middle school, junior high, a little backing away. High school gets even more. Let them navigate their own thing. I really suggest parents don't do that. Work in partnership with the schools. Keep talking to your kid. What do you like? What do you don't like? I don't want to talk about it. I'm busy. Let's talk about it later. You got to keep going. Oh, let's try this new thing. Like partnering up, go to see some things. Bring your kid to work, even talking more about your own experiences, things that you've learned. How's that shaping their interests and relating it back and forth to yours and then your kids' current experiences? Making that tie and that conversation can help further it and keep guiding them all the way. Because when we pull up the pedal, we do that too sometimes, where kids need more guidance and then they're driving their own decisions. And like I said, unfortunately, too many kids haven't been, I think, guided hard enough, strong enough. I don't want to say hard enough.
Right.
In a punitive way, but a more hardened sense of, like a really good coach or teacher that you've had that knew you and helped guide you along that way, that journey.
One way, just a side note, we've been able to have good, deeper conversations with our son is in the car driving or on walks, because there is a tendency to shut down, not want to engage when it's like face-to-face eye contact stuff. So if the kid's in the back seat or if you're walking together and you're not looking at each other necessarily, the guard is down a little bit.
This is a preschool thing. It's called parallel play. Kids don't really like to directly interact, so they kind of go side by side, and it's still kind of some of those dynamics carry on into adulthood.
Sure.
Where if you kind of have this conversation side by side, it doesn't, it feels so direct, like you're attacking me. Like how the teenage brain's thinking about it, to your point.
Couple questions. Couple school board meetings ago, you guys heard from some of the, I believe it was the union reps or teachers or something like that. Anyways, I got a note from a listener that I kind of overgeneralized what was said in those conversations. And so I have some questions about planning into next year a little bit. When it comes to the survey results that they shared with me, a lot of it seemed that the general, and I don't know how many people answered this, but a lot of the responses seem like it's a lot of top down, here's the plan, implement the plan, versus a collaborative. What do you say to that in a conversation with the staff here, and how you move the metrics? Because I know you're very focused on the reading. You got the strat plan coming again for the next couple of years. How are you looking at that with those responses?
Yeah. So again, I think there's a couple different sides of this conversation. One, it's always good to, in your continuous improvement efforts, to have a feedback loop, right? Like, so you have to drive decisions. You have to make, here's what we have to do. A lot of it's guided by us, Jeff. We have to teach the state standards. I didn't make those up. Those are the things that we have. Just by nature, we have materials that we have to use. We have a curricular approach that's generated. We've done that with teachers. I think sometimes that gets forgotten in this conversation, where it seems sometimes top down of why we came to these things. Well, there are some things that are just evidence-based practices, and we need to do those when you're rock bottom in your performance. So yes, then people have to be expected to do that. You can't just go off and go do your own thing. As I like to say, I'm like, really hard to provide coaching and professional development if you had 20 different people doing 20 different things.
Sure.
Right? And so that's part that also gets forgotten in this. So that I like to say, you got the science, which is here's what's evidence-based. We do have to go through, a curricular approach. We do it, select things. We do get input from teachers. We continuously do feedback loops and make adjustments. We continue to make adjustments. These units for reading are very structured, and so we facilitate that. The teachers are the ones that really now have ownership. So it's kind of like this gradual, like, hey, we made this adoption, and then you kind of keep moving toward more of a distributive model. And that's exactly where we're at. We're, like I think people get really antsy about like, hey, where's my locus of control? Where can I do things? I'm a professional.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You're going to hear those things out there. But again, if we're not rowing in the same direction, you're not isolated in your own classroom. You also have to build on things that kids are the center of our decision making, not only with knowing that we had to change things because of low performance when you only have a quarter of the kids reading at grade level in third grade, as one example.
Right.
And in other content areas, right, in other grade levels that I'm not trying to pick on third grade, have done a tremendous job because they knew that they had a team. So those teams are coming together. Like, we forget that, like, they're just getting facilitated guidance, and they're coming around and they're looking at the data, and they're driving their own discussion. They're changing the units. They change sometimes the mentor, what we call the mentor text of that, to craft that. I've seen the teachers, that's what they do. We have teacher leaders who guide that work. Because the next year, though, the kids go to the next grade level, and we don't want to start all over. What is the different ways that we get student engagement? How do kids take notes? You're wasting all of that time if you not have some semblance of same practices, grade level to grade level. And again, that kind of works like a Venn diagram where you're having a lot of overlap, but there's differences in every classroom about how things operate. People build relationships with kids. And so, there's different ways you can definitely engage kids, more voice. You could have scouts. You can change your mentor text. There's just things, jobs versus a journal. I like the journal. I like to have two kids up and talking with me at the same time, or moving in a small group versus independent. There's a whole bunch of moves within that. So I get it. I hear it. I also go, geez, like, we're #1 in Washington State in early literacy growth. The high school's now like totally jumped it. I think almost 10 percentage points over the last couple of years. Discipline's down. I know that still people say there's still behaviors. Yeah, there's always going to be behaviors, but it's a lot more under control. Staff have worked hard on these skills, and so that's what's yielded this.
So is that a change then, like you said, from the top, not necessarily you, but the top? So OSPI coming up with these more formulaic routines for implementation? Because I too, kind of like I heard you maybe say this too, like when I was in high school, you'd have an English class or you'd have a math class, and you'd go talk to your buddy in break, and you go, well, what have you guys been learning? And it's totally different than what you're learning in your class. And I see what you're saying about having that baseline of structure. So as you're able to move in and kids are able to have a good baseline, especially I think you've worked hard on the behavior part of this kind of stuff too, where expectations are known early and they're moved up the ranks. So by the time they get into high school, for example, cell phones, like not even a thought anymore because you've worked so hard in the lower grades. So that comes too from evidence-based research from OSPI and things like that.
Well, not OSPI for the evidence-based, but it's usually higher ed that does all this research. They put those things out there, those practices, when teachers are using standard-based, guiding their own, thinking of their own cycle. What do I have to teach? What does that look like as far as skill set, right? Because you say, here's a standard. What does it look like in application, excuse me? And then we develop the plans for them. I've had staff in other school districts come to us and go, we'd love to have something like that. And I think the difference here for us that is different than other places, and I get, like in this era of I want all of it. There's just a lot of people having a consternation. We're in a place where if we don't create these systems that allow and give some things to teachers, finding the right balance, and I know that's tricky. I'm not sitting here saying it's always easy, is, how much autonomy, because you want to give that craft side to it while we're also doing the science side. And there's times it works, some people it works really well for and it's easier for than other people. And so at the end of the day, we do, to your point, some students in some classrooms in some schools. And so when you have disparities in that, what's so fair about that to know that you're sending your kid to somewhere, my own kid in another district, going through the system, and I know I was like, ugh, this is gonna be a rough ride this year, right? And so um, I want to make sure that it works best when teachers work together in teams, departments. They're exchanging their ideas because some people are, each of them bring their own skill set
Mm-hmm.
in exchange. I'm really good at engagement and relationships. Oh, I'm really good at doing the standard. I'm really good at assessment or data. Like there's people have their own thing. That's nice about a team. They can figure that out, utilize their skills and advance that. That makes some better sense of balance across that so that we're utilizing those skill sets so that the sum is greater than its disparate parts.
One final metric or one final of the slides or whatever on this was kind of the thought that because of teachers were thinking of leaving uh, the district because of the lack of that kind of collaboration that they felt was happening and things like that. What would you say on that? Anything there?
I don't know. I just look at the data. People are staying. The people that leave generally are leaving for reasons related to their family and not the district. We still keep quite a few staff here. I hear from a no room. They're really enjoying it here. I'm not quite sure why people are generating that narrative. It is a negotiated year, Jeff, so I'm not sure where all of these things are coming from.
Okay.
But I most certainly say, hey, if if it was so bad, why is it so good for kids? And so I get up every day feeling great about the work we're doing. I'm just the superintendent. I think people like to thrust a lot onto this position as whatever is wrong or they don't like. Sure, but at the end of the day, the schools are pretty autonomous. They have their own things. They may drive a lot of their own decisions. Um, we continue to empower that more and more, trying to get them to use their building leadership teams to figure out some of the things they want to do. I think that's the best place for it. I think that's the best place where the district is right now, given the successes we have, so that now you have what we call a foundation or a floor, and they can do that. Hard to do that right off the bat when you like sense making, and so I'm not diminishing. People have felt that over time. I've talked to staff. I said, hey, give this a whirl, lean in, and we've empowered more teacher leaders to drive those things. And so that's the format that we're at today in driving that for kids.
Big year, the levy passed, so you don't have to worry about that for a few more
Nope.
years. You got the updated numbers on the reading in third grade that are moving towards that 50% mark, like you were saying. The high school is, by all metrics, all the high schools, by all the metrics, are doing well. So
Attendance is up, and also we're going to have a positive income balance.
There you go. I did hear that in the meeting
Okay.
the other day. So
Sure.
Clinton has been doing a great job on that one as well, implementing some new options for families who choose a homeschool, kind of like a homeschool plus route, a little bit, it seems like. They're able to homeschool the students and then get some support from the professionals here at the school. I was listening in on that one as well. What are some of the other goals a year from now when we're sitting here that you would like to have?
So we are coming up on a new strategic plan. So we're already at the end of 5 years. So that'll be great. More empowerment. Last time we had over 1,000 people participate either through focus book groups, staff meetings that we went out to multiple times, and then surveys. So a little bit less reliant on a survey this time, and that generates a lot of it's
a lot of paperwork.
a lot of that's a lot without a lot, right? Like it's how do we keep ourselves focused? The things we're doing are working, but we'll continue. Like I said, we're in a stage where our staff, and especially our students, should be and continue to empowered to provide input about where we're going and what's working and not working. So I'll continue to do that. We're working still on behavior, so I still am trying to build skill set and capacity at all of our schools for people to handle more intensive behaviors. It's still a thing for us. It always will be. It's that is a it's just an area that every district is challenged, and I think sometimes when I listen to staff, they're like vocalize like, what are we doing with this kid or this situation? I hear you. So we've made a switch up on some of our staffing. So we've more cuts down here, more towards behavior. So that's it. And then keep building the general fund balance, and I'll keep building the culture really at the school sites.
We'll do our kind of traveling roadshow that we did over the first half of this year when it comes to meeting and learning more about the schools on the strategic plan, school specific. So be on the lookout.
School specific.
Look out for the dates on that one. Enrollment numbers, how are they looking? I know that was a concern earlier in the year too.
Yeah, it's around 4,150. So that's off of a AAFTE. So that's not a head count. Head count's higher. We have a number of kids that are part-time for Running Star, or just even on some of our alternative ed programs, trying to build out those numbers. It's just down across the nation.
Yeah.
We've talked about enrollment. The housing is starting to go in.
Yeah.
And so that I hope, Jeff, balances what's going on, because ultimately, even if I can kind of stave off the decline, I can maintain it's just helpful for our budget, right? When you know what you have. If you start losing enrollment, you need to be even more conservative because you don't know what your ultimate number is going to be.
Well, I think too, that Peacock Ridge development is one of the ones coming in, nearly 400 homes there. Plus, Mason County and Shelton has just been kind of, the spotlight has been shown on it as one of the fastest growing, I don't know what they call it, like a micro community comparatively, but a community in the nation really where people are coming here and moving. So that should bode well as well.
I saw that. I think
you see that Como came by.
I don't know. I mean, I gotta. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I looked. Multiple people sent me that story,
sure.
And I, with my educated eye, I go. I didn't see all that new house. I don't know
right.
how a lot of influx is coming when there hasn't been.
They haven't been building yet.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I see Belfair. They do have new housing. Yeah. They are growing.
Yeah.
It's an anomaly, right, in this particular environment for trouble to get good housing. So that I think is more there than it is more in the immediate area around Shelton until you start looking at the developments. I just got another one, so that a smaller development. So they keep. This place is going to grow. I think in 5 years, I guess it's going to look a lot different.
I would think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I want to see it happen before
see the house is built.
See the house is built. Exactly.
Well, you take some time off this summer, and we'll get back to it in the start of the first of the year. And looks like things are going well. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.